Good day, everyone. We are on our live seminar and giving you guys a little bit of value on our Facebook page and letting you guys ask yourself, who am I? And the average individual just shuts down. Why would somebody just shut down? Because when they think that they're that. You see, we can go into the memory of the past or we can go into the memory of the future. But the average individual does not believe that they can create their life, that they can redesign life, that they can alter the pattern plan, that they can change reality. Why? Because everyone around them was not doing it. No. If you're born and you're born in the 97, 98%, you're born and they're not doing it. And if they did it once maybe. And then in the next 30, 40 years, 50 years, they just stayed right on plan. Because everything was subjective, and you get thrown into this thing, and you just assimilate what you see, and you think that's normal. And if you don't, you're seeing your parents and your family, and then they educated themselves, they programmed themselves one time. And then we repeat the rest of our life after that. They didn't know that there was infinite possibilities, and nor did they act like it. So when you fall into that way of thinking, well, this is what we do. We work the vision for a little bit, and then we get to the safe harbor, and then we stay there. Interesting, huh? The mind could have been anything. The mind could have been anything. Your awareness has to be aware that it could have been anything. But when you're not working with a vision, you're working with yourself. I say it again. You write it down. See it again and again and again. When you're not working with a vision, you're working with yourself. When you're not imagining and bringing down this strategy on purpose, and you're not experiencing what you have to do and be, you're not becoming somebody new. This is somebody disciplined in action on purpose, no matter what they see. Everybody else goes back to themselves. You're either in the vision or you're in the vision of the past. What do you keep telling yourself every day? How do you keep acting every day? How many times you say, I'm going to do, and you don't do? How many times you say, I'm going to go, and you wind up over there? Well, you're either in, on, and with purpose, your vision, your desire, or you're in, on, with them. Them. Subconscious mind operates on the frequencies. And just like you, so do them. Just like you vibrate, so do the people around you vibrate. So do they think. So do they attract. And so do they fulfill. And if you want to go beyond them, you will have to vibrate beyond them. And that's not normal. It's not. It's not normal to be consistent. It's not normal to be disciplined. It's not normal to stay with that vision. It's not normal to conduct yourself in a manner that nobody else does. It's not. It's normal to fall in, adapt, conform, and let go of a dream. That's normal. You got to be so consistent because this baby is humming all day long. That self-image is humming all day long. And when you're not aware, your past is humming. Your past is humming. Do we have any questions? People on Zoom, do we have any questions? When we're working down here, let me know if you have any questions. When we're working down here, what we hear, see, taste, touch, smell, understand that you're working with common intelligence. You're not going beyond. When you're working with what you hear, see, taste, touch, smell, you're working with common intelligence, with common vibration. I remember telling the story about whenever he had a burning desire and he wanted to have the construction company. He didn't care what anybody thought. He walked into a place, he didn't have the construction company. He walked in and he just parked beside the road. He saw people doing construction work and he walked right in and he said, you want to know who was the best here? Who was running this project? Who was doing those things? And then he tells the guy, well, if you know how to do this, you're my guy. Who does that? Not normal. But you see, he was working with an idea of the future, and he didn't care what they were doing because they were not going to go there, were they? They were supposed to stay where they were at. That's normal. They're waiting for somebody else to have the dream and the vision and put them to work. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just unaware. They're not aware. So when you really begin to study this and understand this, my God, you've got the freedom of everyone because it's rare that anybody's doing what we're doing. Interesting. Because it's rare that anybody is going to change themselves, work with the vision, plot, plan, jump. He jumped. Got out of the car. He didn't even know where the money was going to come from. When you align yourself with the vision and you act and you do whatever it is that you got to do on purpose, I don't care what it takes. I've been in the point where I didn't know what the next step was going to be, and I took it anyway. And I've taken it anyway. Because I know I'm working with something that's infinite. I know that I'm working with something that's infinite. And if we can stay there, the world will say, wow. It's at our whim if you believe. It will work for you if you assess. It will work to and through you. Why? Because this power just is. But when you don't choose, it picks the images for you. Right back into what we know. The mind needs order. The mind has always needed order. And if you don't give it a vision to breathe life into, it'll go into the visions of the past. It'll go into the visions of them, and it'll give form. It will. You've got to be so motivated and control that baby to put your own visions in front of it so that it'll give form to those things. And when we don't, your spirit wants to give an experience. Your spirit wants to fulfill something outside of itself. So when you don't do it, it goes to the group effort. So you can still smile. So that you can still laugh. So that you can still fulfill an experience. It does it for you. It does it for you. We've got to live on purpose. I remember being a little child. And the images were so broad. I knew that there was so much more. You see, work in images. No accident that I'm here. It was an image that's been leading me my whole life. I came with the image. I believe that each and every one of us has an image and a vision that's been working with us the whole time. But there's a program, and that baby is entangled with us. When you put a goal on, you build a vision, you actually start to understand that you were never those beliefs in the past. As you put goals on, you start to understand you were never even your memory. as you start setting goals, it's like this bell starts to come up, and you start to see, my God, what was I doing? Who was I being? What was I acting like? Every goal that you work towards, you are actually letting go of the past person that you were, because that wasn't even you. And that's when you begin to see who you really are, what you were really supposed to be, why you're really here. What is it that you want? And know that you must work with the vision. Because a man with no vision is a non identidad. A man with no vision is a non-entity. And he will work with somebody else's vision. Always. We are always working visions. Always have. Always have. Because vision is what brings realities. Desires is what brings realities. Without a vision, the people will perish. I came with that one too. What we are is demonstrations of consciousness. You can choose yours. You can choose your destiny. You want to talk a little bit about more on the environmental?
As we go through this seminar, I want you guys to understand the special knowledge and common knowledge. And there are, when we're talking about common knowledge, is we're talking about we're talking about learning. And learning happens through observation and doing. And when we observe and we do, we start learning and we start reprogramming our subconscious mind, or another way, we start rewiring our neurons in our brain to be able to do a certain task or certain functions. And it's just like, for instance, if I want to give you an example, when you were a child, when you were wanting to walk, first you see somebody walking. Then when you see somebody walking, you're trying to walk, you're trying to get up, you're trying to hold on to things to start walking. So you saw that, you're observing, and you are doing. And now you do it without even thinking, right? So what I'm saying is, when we're talking about learning is learning process, and I'm going to get to the common knowledge. We're talking about observing and doing. You can observe, but if you don't do, it's not going to work out. It's just like, I remember one time I wanted to learn how to ride a bicycle. So I was watching every day how my uncle getting on the bike, he said, so he started moving what's holding the bike, I think is jack or whatever you call it. You move it, he sit on it, and then he started, and then you hold the collage, and then he I don't know what they call it, but anyway, he tried to start the motorcycle, and I saw that whole process, and he put it in gear, and he started. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I keep watching him for 2 weeks, and one day when he was not there, I thought, I got this, and I'm going to take this bike for a ride because I've been watching him, that he does. I know all the steps, right? And I was missing the cells of recognition of doing. And when I got on the bike, everything went well until I started. And I put it on gear. And I was trying to put it on and let go of the collage and push the gas. It went too far, and the bike just jumped and hit another car. And anyway, it just hit the door and just created a lot of mess, right? So because I thought I don't need to practice. I've done this. I've seen this. I don't need to do it. And I learned that was a learning that if you want to do something, you got to keep practicing it. What we're talking here, a lot of times it happens to myself as well. A lot of times we're like, yeah, that's right. Makes sense. I know I got it. I think I got it, right? And you don't, because you don't do it. And when you want to, you talk about mastery. Mastery is not just knowing and understanding, it's by doing. Because this vessel that you're in is a instrument of your mind, right? It doesn't move just to move. It is moving according to the functions that comes from your brain, that comes from your mind. So this body has to go and do and develop itself to do certain things in a certain way by what you're learning. So a lot of us, we want to go do something, we think we know it, but when it comes to taking action and go make that phone call, go make that handshake, go knock that door, go ask for the business, go do what you think you need to do according to your imagination. When the data comes or the information comes, we fall short, and because we're not pushing ourselves to do so. When he gave an example of me walking into a construction site, I was imagining that I knew that I want to start a business, but I didn't know how to start it, and I didn't have a construction experience. So through my thinking and imagination, instruction came and says, hey, you need to know somebody that knows how to do it, and you just get the work, and hey, they do the work. And I said, well, what about everything else? We'll figure it out. And guess what? I did figure it out. So when I walked in, like I said, through this process, I want to tell you, like, I imagined it, but if I wasn't taking action, if I wasn't going to develop myself through the whole process, after shaking his hand, after starting business with him, after learning how to sell, after learning how to invoice, after learning all these things that as a business owner you need to learn, if I wasn't going too willing to do it, it will never work out. So imagination comes with action. Action is huge. You can't sit here and imagine, and you've known some of those people, as we all know, that they talk a big game. They're always telling you about their plan for God knows how long, but they're still the same place. They don't want to do anything about it. It's just an idea. It's just a thought. So action is very important. And today we're continue talking about common knowledge as thought depending on the culture and environment that you're in. What we're talking about common knowledge is what we learn in our environment, and a lot of knowledge that we have is according to who we grow up with, who influenced us the most, who was our teacher, and how really most of us are influenced by our guardian. If it was your parents, if it was somebody who's grandparents or your uncle, whoever you raised you. And a lot of knowledge that we have is through that. And what we know how to do is giving us the life that we have right now. And that common knowledge, we're talking about programming, right? The other day I was talking in a class, and I said, and somebody asked a question. I was teaching Farsi, and somebody says, I said, tell me about the limited belief about money. And somebody says, oh, I have a limited belief about the money because my parents never had the money. I don't think so I can have the money. I said, you're right. That's absolutely right. And he was not expecting me to say that. Why? Because I said, because you've been programmed by that common knowledge, by that environmental to how to see the money. And because you're programmed by your parents, that's correct. That's what the result is. And you're not going to ever have money until you intervene and start thinking out of the environment. Start thinking unusual. Stop being normal. He said it very well. It's going to be very difficult for you to have this thing that you are. It's humming every minute. It's vibrating in a certain level, to vibrate differently from the people that are around you. Because when you do that, the relationship, because people like to relate themselves, right? We're friends, we're family, we're partners, we're whatever, right? There is something that they relate. And when you start vibing or thinking differently and start imagining differently, and stop thinking in a common knowledge of environment that they gave you, and you start talking about more money or out of their thinking, or more of life, or more of traveling, or more of spending, or more of experiences, and the cars that you want, the things that you want, you're going to be looked at differently because that's not what they taught you. And that's not normal. So why we're talking about that? Because we want to bring awareness to you. Why you do what you do. You're not thinking. You're just doing things according to the pattern. And if you're not intentionally thinking about what you want, you're going to, this default program, which I call it, the default is always there, ready for you to slack. It's always there, ready for you to say it's Friday, or it's a weekend, it's, I don't know, holiday, it's whatever you have. Just relax and sit back. It's going to take care of your life. And you don't want that if your life is worthy. What we're talking about infinite intelligence is it's a setup that it's like it's an option within you that you're not aware of. Meaning that there's intelligence that you carry, that has all the answers to your questions, all the answers to your problems, all the solution that you want. When I remember I had few emotional impact from Abraham and from Bob Proctor. One of them with Bob Proctor was when he said that, this was very interesting, and I never forget. He said that when there is a problem, there's opportunity. And I was, at that time, I thought, what do he means by that? What do you mean when there's a problem? Who wants a problem? Who wants a challenge? No one. Why would he say there's opportunity? And I started realizing he's talking about our infinite intelligence, meaning that when there's a problem, there's an opportunity. You got to start thinking and imagining, because what you see, you have the problem that you see, you have the answer within you. And when I started developing myself, and I became aware of that intelligence, is just like, it was a big freedom for me. Why it was a big freedom? Because every time, still to this day, every time when I see a problem, when I see things are, sometimes I ask myself, can you handle all that, right? But when I think about it, I'm like, oh, infinite intelligence. I have solution to all the problems. And when the problems are, I have to imagine and focus and go back to the starting point. The starting point is what you want to see, and focus on that. The instruction will follow. You have intelligence within you that is going to help you, guide you, and take you where you want to go. But without having a vision, without having a purpose, without having a dream backed by desire, it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to help you. It's not going to get you out of that environment, that culture, that how you were brought up, and that style, that class level. I'm not saying in a bad way. It's just how you were raised. It's not going to get you out of it. The only way it's going to get you out of it, and it's going to change your life, is by have a goal versus having a goal, having a desire on that goal, and wanting to change, and willing to pay the price, willing to sacrifice something right now. As you guys can see on the screen, and infinite intelligence is what allows you to visualize in ether than in the physical. The problem with people is why, as you guys can see, there's empty seats here, and not everybody is wanting to work, because people believe they have to see it to believe it. They have to see in the reality. When they come here, we're talking about mind. Even Dr. Torben Fleet help and Bob Proctor help. We designed the mind, but we're still talking about something that they haven't seen. We're talking about their thoughts. We're talking about mind that they cannot see, and it creates confusion. And we're talking about something that they haven't seen, it's going to be very difficult to understand, okay, well, your dreams matters. Your goals matters. You are designed to bring that into life, right? It's going to be very difficult to tell that to people, because when individual wanting something, they want to get it instantly right now. They're not willing to develop themselves. And they don't understand, and take a while to understand, we don't get what we want. We get what we are. So we need to constantly working on our subconscious mind and change who we are and become the person we need to become to be able to manifest the life that we want. The mind is infinite. What puts block in front of our mind are our own limitation. So, meaning that you have to be conscious of what you think about. There's a few things that you need to be very conscious of. Abraham mentioned earlier, he said you have to be conscious of yourself. That's a lot. But that's a very broad statement if you really think about it, because you are a lot. And you think about it, the thoughts that you have, the only limitation is the one you impose on yourself. The thoughts that you have, the inner talk that you have, the conversation you have with yourself, the opinion that you have, the self-image that you have, all that is, if you think about it, if you really one day, that if you want to scare yourself, this is not a joke, if you want to scare yourself to see how much you're limited, how much you're thinking limitation, start really writing down your thoughts during the day. And you wonder, I told him, I said 50,000 thoughts that we have, I bet you 90% of them are negative and limited. Why is that? Because we're not aware and we're not directing our thoughts. We don't believe that we're the creator of our life. We're thinking we don't have control, and control is something outside of us. And because of that way of thinking, we're always thinking we're always thinking limitation, and limitation is because of our not becoming aware of the power that we carry. Our ancestors, that's how they lived. That's what they cared for. All they cared for was food. So they had to go to hunt. They didn't have to think. They had to go. Even for that, they had to think a little bit. But they were not aware. Some of them were aware. Most of them lived by their instincts, right? Primal instincts, which is they were always looking for hunting, food. They were always looking for security, shelter. And they were always looking for reproduction or production or having sex, right? So that limitation, that way of thinking is in every individual unless they become aware. All they worry about is, do I have a security? Is this job, there's a security in this job? Do I have food? Can I pay the bills? And all they think about, and you could see that in female and male. And those are the things that we genetically carry on because we're not aware and we don't know that we can create our life. And we're just thinking about survival. And survival is, I'm worried about these three things. And when I'm getting it, like a lot of people, when they start making money, they sit back. Why? Because their primal instinct is fulfilled. They don't know that they have to constantly create. They have to constantly think ahead. Like Abraham mentioned, he said it very well. He said, you have to think in future. You have to go planning. You have to imagine. You have to plan it. You have to take action. You have to make pre-decision. Okay, you have to start using the strategy that comes through your imagination. What am I going to do next? What's the next step? You need to care, right? Why? Because you're thinking in the future. But if you don't want to care and you're just, product of the past, more of a past is going to happen in the future, because ultimately you're a creator and you create your life. So if you are more or less staying in the past and sitting back and you're just letting life happen, you're more or less going to experience the same experiences. We're talking about infinite intelligence because you need the thoughts. All you need is ideas. That's all you have. Think about this. All you have is a thought. You don't have anything else. And that infinite intelligence will bring you all the great ideas, all the great thoughts, all the great instruction, all the great guidance that you need for the next step. But first, you got to take the first step before you know what's the next step is. People always tell me, hey, Tal, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get there. And because of that, I'm not sure. I don't want to take it because of a few reasons. One, because I don't want to fail. Two, because I don't want people to judge me and laugh at me if I fail. Three, I don't want to put myself down. Four, I don't want, it's uncomfortable. Five, like they give me all these reasons, right? And I've never done it before. And think about this, and I tell them, if you've never done it before, that's the whole purpose, to develop yourself to do it, because the fun is by doing it and figuring it out. It's not by knowing. Imagine, think about this, how boring life would be if you know something and you just knew and you just go do it. What was the inspiration? How would you develop yourself? How would you grow? How would you create fun memories? Life would be really boring if you had everything you needed right now, right here in your life. There was no need for fulfillment. We wouldn't be fulfilled. Just you see that a lot of people that have the fame, have the money, but they're not fulfilled. Why? Because they don't have a bigger dream, bigger goal. We can't stop. We always have to express ourselves, and we always go up something bigger. What I'm telling you is, you have in tool, you have something within you that will bring all the answers that you're looking for, all the ideas. Basically, what I said, you have only things that you have is thoughts. Those ideas, you have to act upon them. You have to develop yourself, because a lot of ideas that we have, like he said it earlier, you've seen that somebody comes up with an idea in TV and you say, oh, that was my idea. Yeah, but you never act on it. Or you see like a lyric comes and singer says, oh, I thought about that lyric, but you never went and act on it. Somebody else did act on it. What does that mean? That means everything that you want has been given to you right now. You have to stay in that frequency, meaning that resting in that assumption, meaning that thinking about it constantly, meaning that intentionally get up for it, intentionally pay attention toward it. And when you start doing that, you start finding the things that you need to do. I said as a special knowledge, you start doing to start bringing that to a fruition. Now, is when we say bring that to a fruition, it's not just, oh, I got an idea, I'm going to go do, and it's going to come into fruition. No, that's the beginning of becoming aware. That's the beginning of it, because through that process, you're going to, maybe you have to learn more. Sometimes we call it failure, right? Those failures are good because it's going to help you to know what do you need to work on, right? You're going to have to develop and change who you are through the process to be able to overcome all the odds that are against you, which is in your paradigm, to overcome them, to be able to bring the life that you want. We talk about, well, like I always say, hey, you can't change your mind and change your reality. Master your mind, master your reality. But it's a process. It's not something that you just say, oh yeah, you know what, I'm working on my mind, then I don't see anything happen. Oh, people always tell me, I went to classes. I come to your courses. Nothing happening, Tal. Why is nothing happening? Because you have a wrong understanding. You think by coming to the courses are going to change your life. No, you have to learn and you have to apply what you're learning. If you don't change your personality, you won't change your personal reality. It's very simple. And a lot of people don't want to let go of who they are, because that who they are, the culture they came with, the background they came with, to them is some kind of fundamental, something that they can relate to, and that's their just assets in their mind, that's something that they're proud of. And it's very hard for them to let go. And when you're thinking about that, when I'm talking about really thinking about that, the country you're from, you say, I'm American, I'm Iranian, I'm from China, I'm from Dubai, I'm from these, I'm Mexican, right? You have these ideas. This is what I think. This is who we are. This is our city, or whatever you say. Everything that you say and you believe something comes with that culture. Something comes with what you're identifying yourself. And a lot of them are in limitation to hold you back. And if you do not get out of that, and you do not become a free thinker, an independent thinker, and decide for yourself who you want to become, the chances are that more or less you're going to see what life that you're going to experience, because you're more or less going to experience certain life that it's already pre-designed for you to see and experience. That's why we're talking about your divine mind. That divine mind is infinite, and you can't be infinite. And nobody can tell you what you can do and what's capable for you, because nobody can measure human, I'm using the tape, nobody can measure the human's potential and tell them how much you can do. Like, we all know we can do better, but are we really putting the effort every day to do better? And when nobody can measure humans' potential, why would we stop working on ourselves? Because we understand by working on myself, I'm going to get a better result in my life. I'm going to get a better quality of life. I'm going to hand this to Abraham. Talk about super consciousness.
We are always quantifying the field. And that means we're grouping ideas and we're building a form. We always group ideas and we're always building a form. And we want to get to better ideas. We want to get to higher ideas. We want to go beyond what we see here, taste, smudge. Well, you've got to quantify yourself. Taha was saying it earlier. Everybody has an idea, but you don't act it out. But that is where you become somebody new. You see, we were talking earlier about this awareness, and how do we change our own awareness? There's only one way. You've got to change yourself with a vision. And as you begin to change yourself with a vision and you allow the vision to work through you, you have to allow the vision to work through you. If you do not allow the vision to demonstrate a new action into that direction, you go back to the old self-image. Think about it this way. We can go back to the old self-image and act that out, or we can go to our vision and act that out. But what's hard to do is to discipline yourself to sit down, be quiet, and think that way. Just stop and think towards your vision. It's hard to build and discipline yourself to slow down that mind, that old thing that keeps thinking and just keeps perpetually moving, to slow it down and say, no, let's get on that wavelength and let's build a strategy. Let's bring down ideas and let's put a plan. Now, the average individual, now we're slowing down our mind even more because we're so used to flipping the screen, Facebook and Instagram, and just look. So the mind is used to doing what? It's not used to thinking. It's entertaining your mind. You're not used to moving on your own. You got to discipline yourself to, no, don't stop your own images. Build your own image and flicker those babies. We're not used to doing that. But that's what you have to take to be a quantum engineer. We are quantum engineers. Taha had to look into the future, build a strategy, step into his body and say, go in there. Don't be scared. Get in there. Go ask. Go put them together. Go organize them. What is he doing? He was working with this before he put it in there. See, majority of people will work with this, and when it hits the body, they say, nah. They kick the energy out. They kick the vision out. Here comes the old strategy, and they're right on plan. We are quantifying the field experiences. We are a quantified field experience. Go look at what you were doing. Was it not perfect to what you were thinking? Now, if you don't want to be common, you have to quantify your own field. You have to literally quantify. What does that mean to quantify my own field? You have to build the vision of your own desire with your own will. And you've got to stay steady on that vision, and you've got to group it together, and then you've got to put that in your body, and then you got to stay with that vision until you see it happen. But you have to do it. I cannot give you what I have. because you already have it. You don't want to let go of what you have. The average individual does not want to let go of what they have, even though it wasn't theirs. And they keep quantifying that field experience, a relative field experience. What are they quantifying? What they came into. Look, I came in December the 31st, 1979. Did that not put a degree in space and time? Whoop. But I had to enter a family. Did that not give me another degree in space and time? Yes, it did. Not only did it give me the family, that gave me a geography on the planet. Whoop. So how much information by coming into the world, into the physical world and coming into a body, we injected into so much information all at once? Did that not pinpoint to the dial what you would begin to experience at that very moment? Yes, it did. Geographically. If I would have came into China, I may have looked Chinese. Right? Look at the district we came into. Look at the district and the zip code. Did it not distinguish a degree and outcome and things that you were going to experience? Yes, it did. And then what you were going to have to go through, because they're living their life, they're reacting towards the circumstances, they're living in that timeline. Are you not going to have to go through those experiences and then download that information? Yes, you are. Did that not build perception? Superconscious. Let go of the past. Go into the future. When you can go into the future, you're tapping into superconsciousness. And now you're going to begin to quantify another relative field experience if you're willing and able to act it out. Now, this is where so many people get this wrong. They come to class and they say, oh, I know. Why? Because they hear, but they didn't listen. Listen is when you can take the information and act it out. They hear and they say, I know. No, you downloaded the idea and you put it in the memory box of to think about it. You didn't put it in the doing part. We store so much information in the think about it, but not to act it out. Then we store the book, and sometimes we get so cocky we want to talk about it. Sometimes we want to argue about it. You still don't demonstrate it. Why? Because we think that we are putting this information, and we know, but you're actually putting it in for the memory of it at a distance. To think means imagine. Maybe later on you get to the point where you can talk about it. But when it does not go beneath that 33rd degree, you do not have possession of the world. What is under 33? That's what connects what? Consciousness to the cerebral cortex. And we have form. Is it not? So if you cannot penetrate your vision beyond what you can think and talk about, you did not penetrate the body. Interesting how that works. So you get them for the memory of it at a distance. And if you get this information only for the memory at a distance, you never accelerate the form and quantify the field for a relative field experience. You don't get it. Huh? Everybody thought, yeah, we got to go up, but we also got to come back down. Yeah, it's about going up. I know a lot of people that go up, but never bring it back down. That light has to penetrate the body. And guess what this body is? Time-traveling machine. Look, my energy came into December 31st, 1979. Now it's traveling through time. Super consciousness. When? If we begin to become aware. If not, what travels through time is them, the district we came into, the year we came into, the race we came into, the ideas that they had that we came into, the nationality, the religions we came into. All those things is what's experiencing reality. And then there'll come a day that comes to pass. The one thing that we're guaranteed is that we come back out. We come back out. It's the one guarantee we have, isn't it? Guarantees we came in, the guarantees we come out. And that's when you remember, and then here this body flatlines and it's laying here, and it says, I was so much more. It recognizes that it's not that one day. Imagine that. And it says, wow, I was so much more. And it will look at that body, and then it's going to look at the stream of experiences it had. Isn't that interesting?